Welcome back to the Travel Coach Network podcast. It is I, Sahara Rose DeVore, the founder of the Travel Coach Network and then creator and instructor of the Travel Coach Certification Program. Today I have Robin Hu. She is a slow travel and language coach. She is also the owner of Our Connected World. She helps people create life-changing experiences abroad while connecting their truest self through travel and language. Robin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to chat with you. Tell us first, where did your love of travel even come from?
Oh, God, I think a cliche to say I was born with it, but I kind of think I was born with it. Since I was a little kid, I was reading all these books. So I'm originally Italian, right? So I was reading this book called Valentina. And it's about this girl exploring all of Italy, all the different regions, all the different aspects of the country. And I remember just playing as a kid, as you do, imagining going on those adventure and kind of like fantasizing about like, oh my God, I'm gonna explore, I'm gonna go on an adventure, find new things. So I've always had it in me. Also with languages, I was maybe 10 or something, and I was like bubbling, like thinking I was speaking English, but obviously it wasn't. It was just the sounds. I was like imagining being fluent, right, in another language. So I think it was that. And then, life brought me the opportunity. I lived abroad. I studied abroad as well. I studied in Holland, and then you get a taste of it and you get addicted, as you perfectly know.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard so many people say how they also were inspired to travel through books, which is so unique and so special that literature can do that, right? We think about some of the most popular authors out there were also discoverers and explorers like Mark Twain and everything too. So that's really amazing. What is there a place in particular that really impacted you that you really love that really sticks out to you?
Um, it is hard to handpick. I mean, I lived in different countries, and I always say like each one of them is a piece of me, right? Like the people, the memories, they form you as the person I am today. Travel wise, though, I do have two, let's say, pivotal moments and chapters in life, and I actually the country matches the only two tattoos I have. I got them in those countries. So one of them is Spain. I have a tattoo done in Spain for that reason too. I was backpacking alone around Spain, and it was just getting clarity around my life. It was in between, university and the next step. And you have, society and the common path. And I was like, nope, I'm gonna take a gap year and figure it out. So I did. And obviously I had the friends and family to support. I mean, like, okay, crazy, but okay, and I just did. I did what I felt in me was right. And that was the beginning of my gap year. And I was there for a couple of months. So definitely a pivotal moment, right? You're like 20 something, figuring out life. And the other one was during my last year of uni, I did an exchange in California. And I almost found myself again. It's a very weird thing to say, but like, there were certain things that I felt weren't right, but then you go to a place and you realize, okay, no, like it isn't right. Like this isn't the path for me. And so these two countries brought big, huge new chapters into my life.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can definitely relate to you on that your first experience, and how you went right from university, because I did the same thing. And I think we really align on that. I knew the corporate, doing what society expects you to do once you graduate and everything to find a job and, move up in a job in a company and, get a good title and make a lot of money or whatever it might be that they say is the ideal route. I just knew it just
Mhm.
wasn't for me. So I think that's something that many wanderers like ourselves embody and embrace and understand too. And what is something that, can you explain what travel, and I know this is a pretty tough question, but what does travel mean to you? What has travel done for you? If you were to just explain it in like a couple sentences.
All right. Yes, it is hard because it's so much, right? So and I think I reflect that in my brand, right? In our connected world. It's connecting, and funny enough, maybe that's this is actually what my tattoo here means. The first one is like two connected triangles. So it's connecting to the people, it's connected to places, and it's connecting to yourself. Travel gives you clarity, and it can bring changes, like transformational, life-changing moments in all these aspects. Exploring, understanding places and new cultures brings you new perspectives. Connecting to people brings you new chapters by themselves. Like each relationship will deviate a bit on your path, and then connected to yourself. That's the transformational part of it as well. You are a changed person, which each little adventure. And I think like people think, oh my God, change means I need to, I don't know, live in the woods and and like be unplugged. And I'm like, no, change can be whatever it means to you. If that's what it means to you, and that's what travel does to you, great. But it can also be small. It can also be, I'm just moving apartment, or I'm just quitting my job, or I'm finding a new passion, right? That
Yeah,
wasn't the
change can mean
sentences, sorry.
no, that's totally okay. I mean, change can mean so many different things to people, right? And travel really is so powerful that it really is personal and emotional and specific for every individual. And sometimes we don't know how it's going to change us or if it's going to change us. But I think that's where the term kind of like travel bug, initially starts
Yeah.
from, because travel makes you feel something so different. Um, well, let's start talking more about what you do as a slow travel and language coach. What is that? What do you do? And where did that come from?
Um, so I think, well, COVID happened, and so you take the time to think more about your passion. You have the time, right? So funny enough, I started with a podcast called Journeys Untold. So I was in your spots. It's definitely funny to be on the other side. And I was interviewing people because I was missing those connections that you usually have traveling, the chats in the hostels or just talking to a random stranger, right? And I was missing that. So everything started as a podcast, really, and like bringing people talking about their story and their beautiful projects. And then I just realized slowly, I was like, I want this to be more. And so I went through some clarity work for myself, and I was like, okay, what are my passions, but also what am I, good at, and what way I want to help people. And I mean, I think, as I said, it's weird and it sounds a bit cringy maybe to say I was born, like I felt I was born with travel and languages. I don't know. Of course, life made it also happen, and my choices made it happen. But travel and languages has been, when I say it's been my life, it's been my life. I had to learn languages. I spoke only one. I couldn't communicate with people, and I was in a foreign country, and it was awful because I was like, oh, I'm hilarious. Like, I make friends all the time, and now like I can't because they don't know what I'm saying. But jokes aside, like I went through it, and then I traveled, and it changed me so much. And I think I've always had it a bit in me that I wanted this idea of happiness and feeling fulfilled in your life. I've always had it. I've had it for myself, and then growing up, having my own experiences, I realized I wanted to be the one helping others feeling fulfilled, living the happy life. It started off probably like with friends, and that's how the idea came when they were like, oh, I don't know if I should do my Erasmus abroad. I'm like, yes you should, of course. Like there's no failure in doing that. You just learn something, right? Or you win and you decide to change your life or something like that. So I've always had it, and so I created Our Connected World because I wanted to reach more people, right? Not just the people that I know necessarily. And through the podcast, I've had so many inspirational conversations myself, and people were writing me. I was like, oh my God, this has inspired me so much to do something, or like have even a reflective moment about where I'm at. And so I was like, okay, okay, I'm gonna do it. And it started off as languages. That's, very much in demand. Everybody wants to learn, whatever language it is something beautiful that attracts a lot of people. And I'm a big believer of how even just a second language can not just like you can communicate it a bit, it literally opens up complete new opportunities in life. I wouldn't be here. I live in Canada now. Like I've been an expat for over 11 years, right? I haven't lived in Italy over 11 years. And that would have never happened if I didn't speak English, or, working I had some jobs I worked in for German markets. I would have never had it if I didn't speak German. Traveling around South America, Central America, Spain, having friends from there, it wouldn't be the same without me speaking Spanish. So I was like, okay, I want to help people with that because I know how languages can impact your life. And I want to help people getting out there and making that move, because we're all a bit in the pursuit of happiness, right? And I think there's a lot of different ideas around it and a lot of different pressures around it. And travel is a tool to fulfill your life the way you want it. And I guess because it's been like that for me, but I've seen it with, not just my clients, even before I had this, company, with people like friends that came back, the same ones who were like, oh, should I go on Erasmus? And then they came back as like, wow, it was that I have never heard anybody be like, oh my God, I should have never gone there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly. You're never going to regret going somewhere and trying something different. Like you said, everything is going to be a learning lesson, or it's going to be even greater and completely change your life. Um, just curious, how many languages do you speak?
I speak four fluently. Sometimes the joke is when you become bilingual, you're also bilingual. So I have my moments where I'm like, I don't know if this word exists in any
Oh,
language.
that's
but,
so funny. Yeah.
but yeah,
Um,
four. Yeah.
that's amazing. What, you talk about being a slow travel coach as well. What does slow travel mean?
Yeah, so travel is a lot of things, and when I was going through my own clarity process, right, while building our connected world, I realized that there is this kind of, it's not a branch, it's an approach. It's an approach to travel. It's a mindset towards traveling, and I really aligned with it, and I really felt it connected to me and the way I travel and the way I like to explore the world. So slow travel is kind of part of that movement of like slow life. So like slow food, slow fashion, it's kind of like taking a step back and actually also being present in the moment and making whatever that experience is like a growing moment, right? And of course, I'm very big on personal growth, and that's what I see travel and languages being. It's a personal growth journey in itself. And so slow travel is well-being. Slow travel is going and trying to immerse in places. I think there's two different approaches and mindset. And I think I've actually posted a video recently, well, semi-recently about it. This kind of tourist travel, which one is right, which one is wrong. And the thing is, it isn't right or wrong. It is, if you like to go and just, let's say, stay in a resort for a couple of weeks because you just want to unplug, you're happy about it, you're not particularly curious about what do people do, the people who actually live here and stuff like that. That's fine. That's you, right? Slow travel is the other approach, though. It's the one that is curious about the places. You do want to connect with the people. You do want to understand the culture. And you also want to, you don't want to just like rush it for the highlights or something. You want to almost like get lost and make an experience out of it, and grow from it. And I think, I don't know, there's a lot of ways. There's like soulful travel, like there's a lot of different like ways people like describe themselves within it, but it's just really cold to me, and it was like, that's what it is, and that's what travel is to me.
Yeah, I've been hearing more and more about slow travel as the Travel Coach Network grows and everyone has a different perspective and different interests and area of expertise in travel. I've been hearing more about it. I was always the opposite. I mean, I'm definitely curious about culture. As a wellness travel coach, talk about the understanding and the appreciation and the immersion of culture and people in place and local food and communities and stuff too, as under the umbrella of wellness. But when I was a backpacker, I was definitely not a slow traveler. I was a fast traveler, hence being to over 84 countries within a decade myself. But I would go back to places that really made an impact on me and spend more time there, or I would spend time like in the Philippines on an island helping clean up after a typhoon hit and living with the locals. So it was a good balance in all of that. But that term's coming is becoming more and more popular, especially now as people have more flexibility and a sense of freedom in their work life and remote work in the workplace. Just in general, as we come out of this pandemic, where reevaluated our what matters to them and what they care about and about themselves and their own goals and purpose and stuff too. And like I mentioned in the introduction, you talked about helping people connect with their true self through travel. What does that maybe look like? Or can you give an example?
Yeah, connecting to true self, or the work that I go through with my slow travel coach or coaching clients, right? Um, it's about, I like to say, like, it's about finding your fire, and fire not as in like you're burning from it, but you're like your passion, the thing that moves you, the thing that like, you can't almost stay still thinking about it, right? It's this energy, right? So it's about that, and it's about feeling you are whole, that you're alive from it. And I think that's part of what, I mean, we don't have like hours enough to go into depth into what true self is. But actually, I remember a friend of mine, she always, every time we said bye, she was like, bye, be true to yourself. And I was like, I love that. I don't know, like I think it's been around me, this concept for a while. And I think it just means don't do it because other people, society says that's the normal, that's the right thing. I think being human has so many little aspects to it, has so many, we have so many versions of ourselves throughout life. As they say, change is the only thing we are sure about, which is funny because change is something that isn't stable, but it's true. And we go through all these journeys, and I think part of that happiness and pursuit of happiness we were talking about was, as long as you are true to yourself, so you're doing it because that is that fire in you, that is that strong feeling of being a whole version of yourself in that moment, being alive in that moment, doing it that way, it, again, no regrets, right? You're gonna move, you're gonna learn from it, if anything, and if not, you're just gonna become better and better and better version of yourself. And I think that's part of reaching that happiness. And I saw that with a client of mine when she wasn't sure about going abroad, and I was actually helping her with Spanish. But you can't super divide language and travel, because a lot of times it's also, I want to go there. And it was her first travel. She wasn't going solo, she was going with her sister. And she was a bit scared, and she was like, yeah, I know that I should go, move on, maybe apply for jobs, apply for studying, whatever it is, like do something in that sense instead of travel. And so I was teaching her and tutoring her for Spanish, but we were talking about it. And then we went through like the clarity exercises that I do at the beginning with my coaching clients. And she was just so like moved. That was her fire, right? That it was clearly what she had to do. And the only reason she didn't want to was not, she didn't want to, it was external, right? So she was true to herself, and I helped her realizing this is being true to yourself, as in this is an internal wanting, right? Not an external wanting. And then she went for like a month, and she came, and like I was like checking up on her, even though our coaching and our language sessions were over. But I was like, I want to know, like, I care about all my clients, right? Like, you can't just like stop it. Like, you talk to them for months. And I was like, I was just like, I love it. I was like, oh my God, I love it here. I love it so much. And like, she, she learned about things she didn't expect there to be in Spain. She met friends. So yeah, overall, of course, it was fantastic. And then she actually decided to go back to school after that, instead of applying for, yet another job. So transformational experience right there.
Yeah, that's a prime example of that. I mean, travel is a way to, it exposes us to new ways of life, different belief systems. So that's all of that adds to us creating and getting to our truest self. I mean, I know every single person I talk to on this podcast, and everyone that I know in my travel coach network, and everyone I'm connected with in the travel world online, like you, and especially travel business owners, have come to their truest self through travel, because it is, otherwise we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now, right? We'd be doing what family or culture or society expected of us to do. And it really is such a transformational tool, like you said, to impact our lives and change us in every way, shape, or form. How do you find your clients? I know you're very active on Instagram, and your content is incredible. Is that one of your prime sources of finding clients?
It actually is. I am starting TikTok now, but it took me a while. I knew, Instagram is a great platform for travelers in general. Like, even when it was just pictures, right? It's just very inspirational. Oh my God, I love this place. So I knew I kind of belonged there among all the different platforms. And DMs, like people just messaging or connecting over, sometimes you just like chat, right? Like, it's not, you're not thinking of anything, and then the right moment comes and they realize, oh, actually, by the way, now, I was thinking about learning a language, I was thinking about going abroad. So to be honest, yes, the main is Instagram. And then through, kind of like partnership. So going over and, for example, having an event with a certain association or something, and then people are like, oh my God, I loved your presentation, or your not lesson, but yeah, your presentation and stuff, and then they connect with you that way. But usually Instagram is where it all comes, and that's also where I put a lot of the things I do, more than just the website or something.
Yeah. Do you have any tips? Because you, like I said, really shine on Instagram. Do you have any tips for other travel coaches or travel entrepreneurs on showing up on social media, especially if with Instagram?
Yeah, for sure. So I think what in my own journey as an entrepreneur, what I had to learn is that for you repeat things, right? It's like, for example, let's say an offer. I don't know, my immersion courses, right? And I felt, oh my God, if I post another time, people are gonna hate me, right? And you have this feeling that is actually, again, you blocking your own self. And I think it is because we're in it so much. So I think one of the biggest steps that helped me in my own journey as a coach and on Instagram is to realize that there is no shame. Like, what you're doing and what you're offering to others is a service, and is so powerful. This is changing lives. So having the joy to talk about it, and showing up every day, which, by the way, they are not noticing it as much as you are, right? And I think that's another big change of mindset that one needs to do. But it's just showing, and like really embracing, and really like knowing how much it can change lives. And it shifts that perspective, like, oh my God, I sound so salesy, or it sounds no, like the moment you're genuine, you show up. You show up on bad days too. Like, that is the hardest part, to show up. You're like, oh my God, like today is just a no day. Just show up, because you never know when that message reaches the right person who needs what you're offering.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I'm shaking my head as you say this because I mean, I've been there and those thoughts have gone through my head as well. And we just feel such guilt. We're like, are we bothering people? Are we annoying them? But you're so right on what it is you do have to offer is so impactful and so instrumental for other people's lives or businesses in my behalf. And um, there's no shame in showing off. You run a business for a reason and you utilize platforms for a reason. And if you do it in a way that is, like you said, your truest self and authentic about it, and you're genuine and how you approach people or you approach, the platforms too. The right people will get it and the right people will stay and the right people will eventually share about you or, opt in as well. As we move towards the end here of our interview, where do you see the future of travel coaching or coaching in travel going?
I think it's gonna be more and more in demand. I think it is a growing, right? To be honest, we are in a niche or in an area, even slow travel by itself, but like travel coaching is very new. People think about travel agents. People think about, oh, you're planning my trip. But what I've noticed, especially after COVID, there is way more of that need for reflection, of the need, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to gain from this experience? So I think if anything, it will grow. I think people realize the importance of having those experiences abroad that transform them. I think people want that deeper and reflective moments, whether during the trip, when they come back home, whatever that is. So yes, I think it's slowly getting out there. There's not super, like if you Google, like there's not super much information around it, right? So I think it's great. There's places, like your network, your travel coach network, that also talk about it so that it's clearer that it's so much more than just, oh, I'm planning the logistics of a trip. Actually, it's not planning the logistics of a trip. It's your actual journey, right? Instead of like trip, it's a journey that you're bringing the clients to. And when people find out and understand what that is, they love it, right? They love it. They need that support as well and love that guidance to make their life as they want to, right? So that it's not a dream, it actually is an action plan, and then it becomes reality.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not and they also get it, right? Once you explain it, when they hear about it and stuff too. And I honestly like that there's not that much out there about travel coaching. That's what actually inspired me to start the Travel Coach
Mhm.
Network when I became a travel coach 4 years ago. And this industry is obviously, I'm a bit biased because I run the network, but because I firmly believe in what the power of travel can do on our lives. And that travel is a tool, like we were talking about today. And that's not going to go away. Everyone is going to turn to travel for something in their life for some reason. And they want that depth, they want that immersion, they want that transformation, they want that feeling. And that's where the travel coaches really come in. So it's a shift of the mindset, but also it's not a travel agent industry versus travel coaching industry. Like I've said in another episode here, it's combining and how you work with people and how you get to know them and how you get to understand them on a human level, because travel is humanizing, right? And it's personal and it's emotional, like we said. So I'm excited obviously for the future, but uh, before we get going here, one, do you have a fun fact about yourself that you could share? It doesn't have to be travel or business related.
Yeah, so I would say, also, by the way, bear in mind, I hate cold. I mean, I live in Canada, but I hate cold. I jumped in a frozen lake. It was like some military. I was working on a ski resort, and some military people were doing some training, and we just joined the training. And I think it's funny, A, for people who know me, like I don't even take cold showers. And B, it was one of those things, again, when you take yourself out of your normality, your routine, your daily everything, you get to do this kind of things. It's not like I'm gonna go now out of the door and find, like, I mean, it's summer, but like I wouldn't do it normally. It was just you're in a different space. You challenge yourself, you try things that are normally not on your list, right? So there you go. Fun fact and also example of what travel can do.
That's so true. Well, first of all, that sounds like a nightmare because I also hate the cold and I'm from Wisconsin. So why I'm still here because I love my home state, but
Yeah.
I hate the cold. Traveling, I always went abroad to warmer destinations, but I would do something like that because it is such a unique experience. And just like traveling, getting out of your comfort zone teaches you a lot about yourself, right? And it shows your weaknesses, your strengths, and so much more. So kudos to you, and thanks for sharing that. And then lastly, can you share with our audience where they can learn more about you and your business, where they can follow you?
Yeah, sure. So as we mentioned, Instagram is probably the main platform. It's at Our Connected World. And then also I do have a website, which is www.ourconnectedworld.ca. So, but Instagram, usually I just answer all my DMs and anything like that. If people have questions or want to connect, I always love that.
Perfect. Yes. And we will put those in the show notes. Robin, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today and being on the TCN podcast. You really are inspirational and so motivational for all of our listeners. If anyone wants to follow the Travel Coach Network, you can find us on the Travel Coach Network on Instagram and Facebook, as well as travelcoachnetwork.com. You can also join our free Facebook TCN global community. The links for that, as well as your free beginner's guide to travel coaching, are also in the show notes, along with Robin's links. And if you know anyone who may be interested in travel coaching, be sure to send them our way to our podcast. We truly appreciate you. And until next time, my fellow wanderers, bye for now.